Ladies and gentlemen, we live in an age of contradiction. An age where marriage is idealized and simultaneously devalued, where commitment is praised publicly but neglected privately. And in the middle of this confusion stands a woman, a married woman, who, in the middle of this crimson fury, ironically, is now more vulnerable than ever before. Today, I want to talk about something few people are willing to say out loud. Married women are the easiest prey. Let me begin by saying something that many people, particularly men, deeply misunderstand. Most married women don't cheat because they're immoral. They cheat because they're starving. Not physically, no, emotionally. And the starvation didn't begin with some scandalous seduction. It began quietly, silently, with subtle neglect, with conversations that stopped going deeper than logistics, with love that began to feel more like duty than desire. Now let's be precise. The woman I'm speaking about is not reckless. She's not driven by lust or a desire for chaos. In fact, she likely still cares deeply about her marriage, about her children, about the life she's built. But she's starving. And emotional starvation is far more dangerous than people realize. Why? Because it's invisible. You can't measure it like you can a paycheck. You can't see it like bruises. You can't post about it on social media. But you can feel it in your bones, in the way your partner walks past you without looking, in the absence of curiosity in their eyes, in the way the home becomes silent even while it's full. Not one big collapse, but 1,000 little avoidances. And over time, those avoidances become emotional abandonment. Now here's the part that's terrifying for people who actually want to save their marriages. It only takes one emotionally intelligent man to undo years of neglect. One man who listens, one man who looks her in the eyes, one man who says, "That must be hard, tell me more." It doesn't even have to be romantic. In fact, most emotional affairs don't start that way. They start as innocent conversations that awaken something dormant. The feeling of being seen, of being valuable, of being understood. And let me be clear, this doesn't justify cheating, but it explains it. And if you don't understand the explanation, you'll keep attacking the symptom while fueling the disease. Now ask yourself this. Why is it that so many married women, intelligent, loving, committed women suddenly become open to someone else's attention? Because that attention is medicine to a neglected nervous system. And this is the reality men need to face. If your wife is emotionally starving and you haven't been paying attention, then she is in danger, whether you believe it or not. Not because she's evil, but because she's human. And all humans crave connection. If you deny that connection at home, it doesn't vanish, it simply redirects. So what can be done? The answer is difficult, but essential. You have to stop assuming loyalty is unconditional. A woman might be faithful for years, but if she feels invisible, unheard, emotionally irrelevant, she will eventually break. And here's the real tragedy. Most women won't even want to cheat. In fact, many of them will hate themselves for even feeling attracted to someone else. They'll wrestle with guilt, shame, confusion. They'll say things like, "I never thought I'd be this kind of person," because they're not that kind of person. They're just deeply unmet, and unmet needs always find a voice eventually. So what should a man do? He needs to reclaim the emotional leadership he may have unknowingly abandoned. Ask deeper questions. Pay attention to her energy, not just her words. Notice when her smile is forced, when her silence isn't peace, but fatigue. And above all, listen. Not just to respond, but to understand. When a man truly listens to his wife, he does more than protect his marriage. The form function, or the other chap in Mexes, he protects her from becoming prey. Because predators the charming coworker, the overly supportive friend, they don't offer her passion. They offer her presence, and if she hasn't felt that in years, even the smallest gesture becomes a lifeline. Married women don't betray because they're broken. They betray because they've been broken down slowly, silently, emotionally. If you want to stop that from happening, don't focus on controlling her. Focus on connecting with her. Because in a world full of predators, emotional presence is protection. And once a woman feels seen again, truly seen, she no longer needs to search for it elsewhere. Let's get something painfully clear. Affairs do not start in hotel rooms. They start at the kitchen table in silence. They start in the day-to-day dismissals, the missed eye contact, the conversations that never go deeper than "did you pay the bill?" or "what's for dinner?" Now, people love to frame infidelity as an act of lust, as a moment of weakness, a sudden collapse of morality. But that's rarely the truth. The more uncomfortable, more accurate truth, infidelity starts with neglect. Not abuse, not violence, not betrayal in the loud sense of the word, but neglect quiet, invisible, and lethal. Now let me ask you, what is neglect? It's not doing nothing, it's doing less and less of what matters. You don't have to scream at your partner to damage them. You just have to stop seeing them. Stop asking how they are. Stop buying curios. Stop touching them with affection that expects nothing in return. That's how distance grows, not with explosions, but with emotional erosion. So let's be clinical about this. Marriage is a psychological contract. Not just physical, not just financial, emotional. And when that emotional contract is violated, not with abuse, but with absence, you set the stage for someone else to walk in. Because nature abhors a vacuum. And where there is emptiness, something always arrives to fill it. That something might be a coworker who asks how she's really doing, a man who compliments her ideas, not just her body. A listener, a supporter, someone who sees what her husband has stopped seeing. And here's where it gets dangerous. It doesn't feel like cheating at first. It feels like relief. It feels like finally someone notices me. It feels like oxygen. And when a woman starts to breathe again, she doesn't think, "I want to be unfaithful." She thinks, "Why does this feel so rare, so necessary? And why am I crying after a 5-minute conversation? That's not immorality. That's pain." But most men don't see it because they assume that silence means everything's fine. No. Silence is not peace. Silence is a warning. It's the quiet hum before the system collapses. And by the time a man realizes it, he's already a month, sometimes years behind. So, you want to protect your relationship? Then stop asking, did I do anything wrong? Start asking, have I been emotionally present? Do I still make her feel wanted? Am I invested or just coexisting? Because women don't wake up one day and decide to cheat. They slowly lose hope that you ever will again make them feel alive. And in that hopelessness, someone else shows up with a spark, not a fire, just a spark. But that spark lights up a nervous system that's been frozen for years. And once that happens, she's no longer loyal to the marriage. She's loyal to the part of herself that wants to feel again. Now, don't misunderstand me. Neglect is not an excuse for betrayal, but it is the pathway. And if you're not addressing the root, you're going to keep getting blindsided by the fruit. So what's the antidote? Consistency, emotional discipline, attention. Not grand gestures, not flowers after a fight, just showing up daily in small ways that say, I still see you, I still choose you, you still matter. Because love doesn't die in one dramatic moment. It dies when two people stop tending to the connection. Neglect isn't neutral. It's active damage. And by the time it shows up as infidelity, it's not because someone suddenly lost their morals. It's because someone slowly lost their mind from feeling invisible for too long. So here's the truth. You don't have to be a bad husband to lose your wife. You just have to stop showing up. Stop checking in. Stop caring with intention. And someone else, someone patient, someone strategic will do what you stopped doing. Not with force. With presence. Because in the end, the most dangerous man in your wife's life isn't the one with a six-pack or a charming smile. It's the one who listens. And if you don't fill that space, someone else will. Let's strip away the sentiment and speak with brutal honesty. Predators, emotional manipulators, opportunists, even so-called nice guys don't chase chaos. They target stability. That's right. They don't go looking for broken women or the ones who are clearly unstable or obviously in crisis. Those women are too risky. Instead, they go after the woman who appears secure, grounded, married, because here's the unsettling truth. Married women are predictable. They are structured. They follow routines. They have known vulnerabilities, time, stress, emotional exhaustion, and unmet needs. And perhaps most importantly, they often believe they're invulnerable to temptation, which means they let their guard down. Let's examine that further. What makes a woman prey? It's not her intelligence. Many of these women are sharp, articulate, educated. It's not her morality. Most of them deeply value their commitment. It's not even her desire, because the truth is, most of them are actively looking for attention. It's her emotional hunger combined with the illusion that she's protected by the institution of marriage. That's what predators exploit. Now, who is the predator? He's not necessarily a monster. He doesn't have to be obvious. Often, he's subtle, patient, and calculated. He can be a coworker, a friend of the family, a mentor, even someone online. What defines him is not what he does, but how he listens. He notices what her husband hasn't noticed in years. Her energy, her effort, her silence. He compliments things that aren't just physical. He praises her intellect, He sees her potential. He says things like, you're incredible. I don't think he realizes what he has. Or worse, if you were mine, I'd never take you for granted. Now let's pause here, because this isn't about physical seduction. It's psychological seduction. And that's far more dangerous because it slips under the radar. No boundaries are crossed at first. No wrongdoing, just connection, just empathy. Just someone who finally hears her, and she tells herself, it's innocent. I'm just talking. He understands me. That's all. But that's not all, because while she believes this is harmless, something far deeper is happening. She's beginning to trust him more than she trusts the man at home. She's beginning to compare, to fantasize not about sex, but about being valued again. And once that door is cracked, it rarely closes cleanly, because emotional betrayal always precedes the physical one. Now here's the part men don't want to hear. Most predators don't have to steal your wife. You gave her away when you stopped paying attention, because when you don't notice the little things, someone else will. When you're too busy, too cold, too distracted, someone else steps in. And he won't be better than you. He may not even be stronger, smarter, or more successful. But he will be present. And presence in a world full of emotional starvation is more powerful than money, muscles, or marriage vows. So what can you do? First, stop thinking marriage is protection. It's not. A ring isn't a shield. A wedding isn't a fortress. Emotional connection is the only real protection. You must remain curious. Still flirt. Still ask questions. Still study her like you did when you were dating, because if you don't, the man who's watching from the outside will. Second, understand that stability is not the absence of risk. It is, in fact, where the risk hides best. When a woman is in survival mode, single, hurting, navigating chaos, she's often on high alert. She question motive. She sees red flags. But when she's in routine and predictable, quiet domesticity, she is more susceptible to gentle, consistent attention. That's when the predator strikes. Not loudly, not recklessly, but with care, with patience, with understanding. And it works not because the woman is weak, but because she's human. So to the husbands listening, your wife doesn't need you to be perfect. She needs you to be present. She needs to feel like you still choose her, not just as a mother or a manager of the home, but as a woman. She needs to know you still see her, not just the version of her that handles responsibilities, but the version that longs for connection. Because if you don't see her, someone else will, and he won't have to do much. He just has to offer what's been missing. And wait, we need to talk seriously about what marriage is and what it is not. Under and versed and under another one. Because there's a delusion running through modern relationships, especially among men, that once you get married, you've won, that you can now relax. Stop pursuing. Stop checking in. Stop trying. Because you've already secured her loyalty, right? No. Marriage is not a status you earn. It is a discipline you maintain. Getting married is not the finish line, it's the starting point. It's the beginning of a lifetime of work, emotional work, psychological work, even spiritual work that demands your consistent participation. And here's the brutal truth. Most men are not emotionally disciplined enough to stay married. They're just too passive to leave. Answers sermal. In the unpresentablies, but the is culture, they think showing up physically is enough. They think paying the bills, sharing space, occasionally doing something romantic is doing their part. But that's not a marriage. That's a cohabitation agreement with tax benefits. A real marriage, a living, breathing one, is sustained not by proximity, but by presence. It's built on daily, deliberate choices to connect, even when you're tired, to listen even when you'd rather escape, to remain curious, even when things feel routine. Now, let me break something down clinically. A woman doesn't drift because she wants more, she drifts because what once felt alive has now gone silent. And here, where the danger comes in the silence of a dying marriage, something else always enters. It may not be a person. It may be fantasy, loneliness, resentment, bitterness, disconnection. But nature abhors a vacuum. And if you're not filling the space emotionally, something else will. So when men say, but I'm faithful, I don't cheat, I come home every night, I say, that's the minimum requirement. That's not virtue. That's not effort. That's compliance. Marriage is not about not cheating. Marriage is about choosing her again over and over, even when everything in your life demands your attention elsewhere. And that requires discipline. One, let me be clear, emotional discipline isn't about suppressing your feelings or always getting it right. It's about intentional effort. It's texting her during the day, even when you're busy. It's noticing her tone shift, her eyes dim, and asking what's wrong before she even says a word. It's touching her affectionately when there's nothing sexual expected. It's remembering who she is outside of being a mother, a homemaker, a taskmaster, because if you don't remember who she is, she will. And if she remembers it before you do, you may lose her. She'll remember that she used to laugh more, that she used to feel beautiful, that she used to be seen. And she will ache for that version of herself. And if you're not the one helping her return to that version, she will find someone else who does. Not because she's bad, but because she's alive. And aliveness always seeks expression. The great lie of modern marriage is that commitment replaces attention. It doesn't. Commitment demande attention. And the absence of it isn't neutral, it's destructive. Neglect isn't the opposite of abuse, it's just a quieter version of it. When it tells the same story, you don't matter anymore. So what do? You train your attention, you practice emotional presence like a discipline, like going to the gym, like mastering an art. And yes, you'll fail. You'll miss signs. You'll get selfish. You'll forget. But the point is not perfection. The point is awareness and return. Because when you build a marriage on discipline, not just devotion, you create a container strong enough to hold the inevitable storms. You make her feel chosen, not just claimed, wanted, not just kept, seen, not just served. And in a world where predators roam, emotional, psychological, and yes, physical, that kind of marriage becomes a fortress. Not because nothing can enter it, but because everything important is already inside.